right now we have breaking news, and it's specific to this show and our audience. So, as a result of legal demands from our attorneys at the Informed Consent Action Network, we have received numerous emails from the CDC. Now, if you were signed up for our legal updates, our newsletter at icandecide.org, you would have received this email. And it says here, emails reveal CDC employees circulating articles criticizing, that's you, Del Bigtree, and celebrating the deplatforming of the Highwire. Let's look at these emails and show them to the world.
And to be clear, like, this is part of the thing. As everyone knows, we lost our YouTube channel, we lost our Facebook channel. We've been using Freedom of Information Act requests. We brought a lawsuit, and the lawsuit said, well, you can't prove that you were specifically targeted by the government, right? You can't prove that they talked to Facebook about Del Bigtree, the CDC. So I think this is a FOIA based on just using buzzwords like the Highwire and my name, and so these are just the beginning of some of the emails that we've seen come up here. So let's take a look at it.
Absolutely, yeah. Most of it has been broad. These are specific to the show and to you. So August 12th, 2020, we have Maureen Marshall. She's the health communication specialist at the CDC. Okay. And she writes here, the subject is actually Del Bigtree removed from YouTube. That's the subject line in the email. And what they're doing is circulating what appears to be portions of news articles, kind of celebrating the Highwire's deplatforming at that time. And this was something in episode 174 that was on YouTube. We had talked about it. We called it Cyber Attack on Truth. And this was YouTube took the actions to deplatform us at that point. But now let's go to some other emails. So we have Melinda Wharton. She's the Associate Director of Vaccine Policy at the CDC. She forwards this email. She sends it over to Dr. Nancy Messonnier. She was the former director of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases at the CDC. And she writes simply this, an exclamation mark. Now,
take a look at this. We got him.
Yeah, make of that what you will, I guess. So, continuing on to that same email there. So the next email down in that thread, we have Kristen Nordlund. She's a special assistant to the director of communications at the CDC. She forwards that email chain. She forwards it to Dr. Messonnier and to Amanda Cohen. She's the former executive secretariat of ACIP. And she says basically just this, FYI. So this is circulating around the CDC higher ups. People are really, really wanting to know about this, apparently, or really wanting to share it. And you can see there at the bottom, it says just FYI right there highlighted. Now, perhaps the most telling email that we received to date came 2 months after the exchange you just saw. So let's take a look at that one. And this brings us to October 28th, 2020. And it's by an email by Carol Hayes. She's a member of the ACIP committee, and she sent an email to several of the CDC higher-ups with the subject of simply Del Bigtree saying, as you can see there, ah! And now what the heck's she talking about? So
what is she talking about?
Yeah, we did some date checks here, and that turns out to be actually the time where the Advisory Committee of the Immunization Practices was happening. The ACIP committee was happening, and you had a comment at that time, and you were actually chosen to give public comment. So they're finding out, I guess you were commenting, or perhaps after your comment, but let's go back to that time, 2020, and listen to your comment.
This is the comment that deserved an ah inside the CDC. All right, I'm looking forward to this.
Our next speaker is Mr. Del Bigtree. Mr. Bigtree.
I want to thank the committee for giving me this opportunity to speak. I want to say that, given that almost everything we talk about these days involves discussion of COVID-19, I want to say I found it shocking that in the discussion about the flu shot this morning, there was no discussion about the risk of COVID-19 being increased by flu shots, given the fact that there's so many studies that are showing this type of connection. Specifically, we have the Cleveland Clinic study that's entitled Safety of Influenza Vaccine During COVID-19. It found a highly statistically significant increased rate of mortality, ICU admission and hospitalization for COVID-19 among those that received a flu shot in 2019 as compared to those that did not. In fact, it reflected that those receiving the flu shot in 2019 had a 175% increased rate of mortality and a 195% increased rate of ICU admission. Additionally, there was a gigantic study that just came out looking at 39 countries called Positive Association Between COVID-19 Deaths and Influenza Vaccine Rates in Elderly People Worldwide. Given that there are those studies out of Japan that have shown 400% increased risk in other upper respiratory infections amongst those that got flu shots compared to those that didn't. All of this science around the world is pointing to there may be a real danger to giving flu shots during COVID-19, yet the CDC seems to plow forward with this idea of a twindemic and using it as a way to force the largest flu vaccine campaign in U.S. history. We're also watching the 59 deaths from flu shots and growing in South Korea, where they are involved in this mission, yet none of this seems to matter to you at Advisory Committee of Immunization Practices, which is really shocking. Given the lack and waning confidence that the American public now has in the CDC, it's said by many articles to be at the lowest point in history. How do you expect to be relevant or even be considered necessary in a process of protecting our population when you're not even having the most obvious conversations you should be having when it comes to vaccinations? This is your world. This is what you are supposed to be looking at. We are supposed to have confidence that when there are studies all around the world showing a risk of delivering a flu shot vaccine and the increased risk of death from COVID-19, that certainly it's a conversation and you'll be able to bring up studies to discount or, somehow refute this issue. Instead, you avoid it altogether, which is continuing to drive the confidence in the work that you do down through the floor. I would like to see you be a little more responsible with these conversations, given that they're so important and may include and involve the risk of death for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in this country and around the world. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I want to take this moment to say that, this isn't, though I will say it's not about gloating or seeing my name in it. What it shows is we're having an effect, folks, that they are actually talking to us. We knew that they were. I have insiders inside the CDC that are reporting to me that there's entire departments trying to refute what we're seeing here and what we're saying at the high wire. There's so much we want to know. A lot of these emails are redacted like crazy. Like, what is it they're hiding from us in emails? They're talking about us in the high wire. Why is that redacted? We're actually working at uncovering some of that. But to make this point, do you see what is there's something going on here at the high wire that's different than anything else you're watching. You're not, I love Tucker Carlson, but you're not watching him talk to your, go ahead and sit in on meetings and try and fight for the truth and fight for your safety at the ACIP meetings or the VRBAC meetings. These are the types of things. We're going another step. This is news like it's never been done before. We're not just reporting on it. We're getting involved. We're bringing legal teams to bring lawsuits. I am in the face of the ACIP every time I get a chance, and I'll admit, it was a lot more fun when I used to go there in person and stand on a microphone. They don't do that anymore. I guess they're afraid of us. They'll probably never go back to what COVID has done to protect them. Now we all have to just speak into our cameras, on a computer instead of stand on a microphone and look them right in the eyes. But I love the fact that whether I was looking them in the eyes or not, they're talking to each other. And look at that comment. That's her comment. I'm so frustrated. He's telling the world the truth. This is such a bummer. How about he's got a great point? And if we're right, why is it we can't refute these things? It bothers me what he's talking about. Not, I wish he would shut up, which is exactly my point. The CDC wants just the science to disappear so they can just dictate these ridiculous programs and mandates upon us. Well, when you think about what's happening here at the high wire, I just want to take this moment to say, we need your help. Look, I have international scientists. They're putting together all that material so I get to sound like a genius for 3 minutes at an ACIP meeting, but it's not just me. We are paying to make sure that we have the best science that you get. You're not getting it anywhere else. If you're not aware that if you're watching the show for the first time here in the high wire, every single piece of evidence that we have, every single study, every peer-reviewed study we talk about is going to be in your hands on Monday. All you have to do is scroll to the bottom of the page on our website and just type your email into the slot right there. Where we're getting to it, here it is. There it is, right there. Brave Bold News right there. Subscribe. put your email in there, and then all of the science and evidence that we are providing and all the victories and the lawsuit wins and everything goes right into your hands so that you don't have to sit there and say, oh, this guy Del Bigtree just said. You say, no, no, no. Look what evidence I have. Look at the studies I have. Take a look at this, mom, dad, brother, sister, friend. This is how this works, but all of this is made possible through donations only. We have no sponsors. We do not have Exxon helping us. We don't have any of the help that every other network that you're paying also. They're taking your money for your cable bill, and then they're taking money from Pfizer and Sanofi Aventis and Exxon and everybody else to lie to you every single day. Instead, we're bringing you the truth, and then we're fighting on your behalf. We're fighting lawsuits, and then we're standing in the face of these legislators and standing in the face of these regulatory agencies and speaking the truth to the point where at least we're getting an, well, what do you, help us, please. Donate, please. Become a recurring donor. You have no idea how good it feels to see those emails come in. Everybody that's a recurring donor right now, they just went to the top of the page, hit the donate button, and said, you know what, I could give up $1 a week or maybe $6 a month, or we're asking for $22 for 2022. How many things are you putting your money in? You're voting with your dollar every day. Are you voting for MSNBC? Are you voting for CNN? We're going to make this easy. You can text us now, donate to 72022 right now on your phone. Become a recurring donor. Don't complain about the world. Actually fund the people that are helping change the world. That's what we're here to do. We are simply a vessel for you. A vessel for you to get in the face, to get into these courtrooms, to make a difference, to stand at ACIP meetings and make a difference. We are your vessel. Why don't you take use of it? Seriously, for a couple of dollars every single month, we can change the world. And we are literally not able to run lawsuits right now. I said it last week. I'm not going to go through the whole list. There are incredible lawsuits that will literally decide the future of your children in your life in the United States of America and even around the world. So if you're sitting there going, wow, that sounds great, and you are not helping us, then it's on you. It's on you how this all goes down. We can make a difference, as Daniel Watkins said right here. He said, we have the power, and it may seem insurmountable. It's only insurmountable if we are actionless. We are full of action. That's what the Highwire is. That's why our nonprofit is called the Informed Consent Action Network. That is you. Be the network. Get involved. We have so much to do right now. We are winning, but we have to win the whole thing. And that's going to take your help right now. So please become a recurring donor. It makes a huge difference.